Hi Seahawks, today you're going to take notes on percent proportion. A percent proportion is when one of the numbers, which is called the part, is being compared to the whole quantity called the base. The other ratio is a percent written as a fraction. The base is 100. All of your percents, as we've been talking about, percent is always out of 100. So your percent, that part of your proportion, will be over 100. If you look here, that is your percent over 100. And sometimes we'll use part over whole, which is what you see here. You'll see me use these interchangeably depending on the problem. Sometimes you'll have more basic word problems where it will make sense to use the is over of equals percent over 100, and sometimes you'll have a word problem where saying part over the whole would make more sense. And you're going to see that as we go on. Okay, your part is always what is being compared to the whole amount. Okay, so on your quizzes, sometimes you'll get like your take-home tests are out of 20. So if you get an 18 out of 20, 18 would be your part, 20 would be your whole. You could use this percent proportion to find your percent. It automatically finds your percent for you if you plug in 18 as your part, 20 as your whole, and then you have your percent, which will be your variable. You don't know that number, and you could solve the proportion very easily. We're going to go through solving a couple of proportions now. 5 is what percent of 8? 5 is being compared to 8, so 5 is the part, and 8 is the whole. That's your base, okay? So if we were to put this into the proportion, I could think of this as the is over of equals percent over 100. You could also think of it as the part over whole, okay? 5 is, that's your part. Like I said, is over of, part over whole, it's the same thing. 5 is your part, 8 is your whole. Equals, we're looking for the percent, so instead of putting the percent symbol, I'm going to use a variable, equals x over 100. Okay, and you're going to solve this proportion, which you should be able to do. Okay, you're going to do 5 times 100. And 8 times x. Okay, 5 times 100 is 500. 8 times x is 8x. And you're just going to solve that one-step equation. Divide by 8, divide by 8. 500 divided by 8, you get x equals 62.5, and that's the percent. Now remember, as I've been saying the last few days, if your answer is a percent, you need to put the percent symbol on it, otherwise it will be marked wrong. In this case, we were looking for the percent, so you put your percent. If we were looking for the part or the whole, obviously that's not a percent. You wouldn't put your percent symbol, but because we were looking for the percent, you have to have the percent symbol on it. Okay, let's try a few more examples. What percent of 5 is 11? Okay, now I am going to tell you, I always, when I have a problem like this, these are the more basic using percent proportion problems, okay? You're going to see as we go on, you're going to get some more difficult ones, which are word problems. And the first thing I always find in these word problems is the percent. Whether it's basic or hard, I'd find the percent. Now, if you see, it says what percent in this problem. So I don't have the percent. I'm going to use a variable. Okay, so you're going to use is over of, or you could think of it as part over whole equals percent over 100. Part over whole equals percent over 100. Okay, and it says what percent. So do I know the percent? No, I'm going to throw in my x right there because that's what I'm looking for. And I have of 5 is 11. Now this is the difficult one. This one is a tough question. What percent of 5. As soon as you see the word after, the number after the word of, that's going to be your of. Okay? So you see that? Of 5, that's your of. That's your whole. Is 11, that's going to be your is. Okay? There's your proportion. Now that's the hardest part, plugging everything into your proportion. From there, you should be able to solve this very simply. You know how to solve a proportion right now. We're going to do 11 times 100 and 5 times x. 5 times x is 5x. 11 times 100 is 1100. And then you're just going to divide by 5 on both sides. And x equals 220. Okay, for example number 3, we have 36 is 72% of what number? So I told you the first thing you could find is the percent, because that's your like dead giveaway. See how it has the percent symbol on it, okay? And we could think of this as is over of equals percent over 100. Oop, I gave you an extra. Percent over 100, okay? And right away, I could plug in 72 as my percent. Okay, then we have 36 is 72% of what number, okay? And I told you before that the of is always after the word of. So of what number? Well, I don't have the of here. So I'm going to make that's going to obviously be my x. And then we're left with 36 is. Okay, and then we're going to solve that. And when you solve that, you're going to cross multiply. 36 times 100 is 3600, and 75 times x is 75x. Divide by 75 on both sides, and you can use a calculator for that. Okay, and when you finish that out, you get x equals 48. Okay, next two examples. We have 72 is what percent of 160? So we're going to follow is over of equals percent over 100, your part over your whole, okay? And I said the first thing you should look for is your percent. That's your dead giveaway. So my percent, we have what percent? We don't know. So we're going to throw in our variable there, okay? And of what number? The number after your word of is going to be your of. That's where you're going to plug in your of. Of 160. And we have 72 is. So that's going to be your is. Okay, once you have everything in the right spot, just check it over. What percent? That's my x of 160. 72 is. 72 is what percent of 160? Of is your whole, okay? That makes sense that would be of 160. 160 is your whole. That goes where your whole is, or your of. And now you're just going to solve that proportion. That's the hard part. The hard part is getting everything in there. The easy part is solving it now that you know how to solve proportions. 160 times x is 160x. 72 times 100 is 7,200. And then you're going to divide 7,200 divided by 160. Okay, and you get x equals 45. And I'm doing this for you right now. Obviously, hopefully you can use a calculator on this. If not, you're going to have to use your brain. I'm allowing you to use calculators. If you have your own calculator, that's fine. You could use that. Much easier to just divide that with a calculator. Okay, the next one we have what percent of 8 is 12? Okay, so we're going to use is over of, your part over whole equals percent over 100. first thing to find is your percent. What percent? We don't know our percent, so that's going to be our x over 100. Okay? Of 8. Of 8 is 12. Of 8, that's your whole, your of. And is 12, that's your part or your is. Okay, there's your proportion. And you're just going to cross multiply. You're going to do 8 times x, which is 8x. 12 times 100 is 1200. And you're going to divide by 8 on both sides. And you get x equals 150. Okay? So that would be that part of your notes. Okay, the next part we have some word problems. And word problems are a little bit more difficult. But we're still going to use the is over of proportion or the part over whole. So let's try those out. Okay, so for the first word problem, we have 54 of the 90 books on a bookshelf are history books. What percent of the books are history books? So we're going to use part over whole equals percent over 100. And you're going to use this for all of your word problems. Part over whole usually works the best. Okay? 54 of the 90 books, what percent of the books are history books? And remember I told you the dead giveaway is always your percent. In this case we're saying what percent, so that's going to be our x. Okay, now you have the other two sides to fill in. Of the 90 books, remember I said look for the of first. So we have of the 90 books, that's going to be your whole. Excuse me. Sorry, couldn't pause that quick enough to sneeze. And then we have 54. So that's obviously going to be your is, your part. 54 is what percent of 90? If you wanted to say that to yourself in your head, 54 is what percent of 90? We want to know 54 is what part of 90, your whole. Okay, there's your proportion. Once you have your proportion done, I'm going to kind of rush through the solving of these because I feel like we should know how to do this by now. You get 90x equals 5400. Divide by 90 on both sides. And you get x equals 60%. And you were looking for the percent, so you have to label that. 60% are history books. Now what if I were to ask you what percent are not history books? Well, if 60% are history books, and you went over a few of these for your homework the other day, possibly, 100 minus 60 would be 40% are not history. Just in case you were asked that question, you could easily figure that out with the numbers you were given. But 60% are history. And it's not a bad idea to go back and read the word problem and make sure you answered the question that they're asking. What percent are history books? 60% are history books. Okay, next question. If 12 of the 75 animals in a pet store are parakeets, what percent are parakeets? Okay, and you're going to use part over whole or is over of, whichever you want to call it, equals percent over 100. With these type of word problems, I feel like part over whole makes more sense. And the dead giveaway is your percent. So we have what percent? We know. We don't know the percent, so we're going to put in our variable, our x. Okay, look for the word of. We have of the 75 animals. That would be your whole. And we want to know 12 are parakeets, so 12 would be my is, my part. What part is 12 is what part of 75. Okay, and now you're just going to solve your proportion. We have 75x equals 1200. And you're going to divide by 75 on both sides. And you get x equals 16. and that would be 16% are parakeets. And I would go back and read that just to make sure you did it properly, just in case it says are not parakeets. 16% are parakeets. Okay? Question number 3. Of the fish in an aquarium, 26% are angelfish. If the aquarium consists, we have a cutoff there because it's full bunch. And I don't know what it is. If the aquarium contains 50 fish, how many are angelfish? Let me double check that. Okay, that is a 50, so this would be 50 fish, just so you know, because I think it's cut off on all of the papers. And this is going to say about how many. It should be about how many are angelfish, because that's actually not going to work out perfectly. So we're going to use part over whole equals percent over 100. Okay? And I said the dead giveaway, here we have the percent, 26%. So we're going to throw that in. 26 is my percent. Okay. The aquarium contains 50 fish. Would that be my part or would that be my whole? Well, it contains 50 fish. How many are angelfish? 50 fish. That's going to be your whole. Okay. And we want to know how many are angelfish. So that's the part that we don't know. The part that's angelfish. So now you're going to solve this and you're going to cross multiply. Okay, you get 50 times 26, which is 1,300. I'm just going to write that out. That's how I got that. And x times 100, which is 100x. 100 times x. Okay, and you divide by 100. Oh, it does work out perfectly. Sorry, I wasn't thinking properly. And x equals 13. So we have 13 of the fish are angelfish. Okay? And for our last question, we have kids were polled for USA Today on the reasons they don't enjoy cleaning their room. Ooh, there's a typo there. Mr. Cooper would have a heart attack. That should be T-H-E-I-R. Sorry about that, Coop. Of the 1,074 kids polled, 28% of the kids said they didn't clean their room. There, I fixed it there. Because they were too lazy. How many kids said they were too lazy? Okay, so you're going to again use part over whole equals percent over 100. Now let's look. The first thing that we have here is our dead giveaway. 28% didn't clean their room because they were too lazy. So that's our dead giveaway. That's your percent, 28 over 100. Okay? Of the 1,074, is that my part or is that my whole? That's your whole. That's your total, 1,074. And we want to know how many kids were too lazy. That would be my part. Okay, so that's my x. So now you're going to solve your proportion. Once you get it all in, which is the easy part, is solving it once you have it all in. 1,074 times 28, we get 30,072. Divide by 100, and you get a decimal here. So you're obviously approximating this. It's going to be 300.72. Well, you can't have 300.72 of a kid. So we're going to say that x equals, let's say, 301. We'll say approximately 301 are too lazy to clean their room. Okay, and that's your notes for today. Have a great day, and I will see you the next time in class.